All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to class. Today we are going to be talking about the rise of Nazi Germany. Okay, now of course we've kind of hinted at this. We've kind of talked about this kind of from the side a little bit, and of course we had been watching that video series that really kind of talks about this rise of Adolf Hitler and rise of Nazi Germany. And of course, the big thing that we kind of see from today is Hitler is going to take kind of look and see how other people around him kind of rose back to power, i.e. Mussolini yesterday, and of course the reign of Joseph Stalin. Okay, we'll hit all of those things. We will talk about all that stuff today and kind of see how that stuff influenced him and all that to kind of become who Hitler became. Okay, and of course we talked yesterday about Joseph Stalin and Mussolini, who were two pretty evil people in their own right. And of course Adolf Hitler is always kind of given the title as being kind of like the bad guy from history. So of course we'll talk a little bit about him today and about his rise to power. Okay, now understand this. Well, actually, let's do this. Let's go ahead and get our video our questions going, and then we will start our intro here. So let me there. Oops, hang on a second. There we go. Okay, there we go. So let's go ahead and look at these two questions. Let's go ahead and write them down. Okay, so the first one, what was life in Germany like under the Weimar Republic? And then, of course, describe the Night of the Long Knives and Kristallnacht. And what I want you to do, of course, you'll write the question, describe the Night of the Long Knives and Kristallnacht. And then in your answer section, just write Night of the Long Knives and give me a little dash so you can write that stuff in. Skip down a few lines and then write in Kristallnacht, and then put a little dash there so we can respond to that later. Okay, and of course get all that written in and kind of listen as we're talking about this. So of course Germany. Okay, of course we have the last time we really talked about Germany. Of course Germany was in a real bad way. Okay, we talked about how after the Treaty of Versailles, after they had to sign that war guilt clause. I mean, Germany was kind of the bad guy of the world. I mean, they were kind of viewed as being like the worst ones out there. I mean, again, they became the scapegoat. They became the reason for the world's troubles. I mean, make no mistake, again, a lot of this stuff is unjustified, but you need to understand, and we're going to hit this point up in a little while, when things are going bad for people, okay, when things are going bad for countries or things are going bad for groups of people and whatnot, they're always going to find what's known as a scapegoat. Okay, can anybody tell me what a scapegoat means? It means to define something to be a scapegoat. Anybody? You ever heard that term before, scapegoat? Say it louder, please, so I can hear you. Okay, the cause of all the problems. Very good. Basically, scapegoat means, who am I going to blame? Okay, it's not my fault. So who am I going to find to blame for my problems? Blame for why these things are gone bad. And you better believe the world is going to look at Germany. I mean, hey, they signed that war guilt clause. And of course, we talked about how they were pretty much forced to sign that war guilt clause. So of course, Germany is going to be viewed like this. Now, at this time in Germany, what we will see is that the ruling class in Germany, kind of going into the 1920s and going into the 1930s, are going to be referred to as the Weimar Republic. It's not going to be like one person in charge. It's kind of a council that kind of runs Germany. But we see that this council is going to be very, very loose with the country and kind of, it's not going to be run very well. Okay, so very quickly, under this Weimar Republic, and of course, they always kind of show this guy here as being kind of the face of this Weimar Republic. And again, you don't need to write the whole thing down, but just kind of paraphrase it. Under the Weimar Republic, okay, it draws his name from the town of Weimar, which is going to be in central Germany, okay, where the Constitution Assembly met. So they get together and they basically implement a lot of very liberal policies to kind of let people do what they choose and not a lot of government control over everybody. Well, of course, when you have this kind of a situation set out, and of course things are very dire in Germany and their economy's in the toilet, we see a lot of kind of very kind of different time in Germany. Okay, you're going to see crime rates are going to go up. You're going to see a lot of very kind of debauched behavior happen throughout Germany. And again, I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, but their society is going to kind of crumble from where it was before, from that stability that you had before. Okay, so like it says here, political turmoil and violence economic hardship, and also new social freedoms and vibrant artistic movements characterize this complex Weimar Republic. Okay, and that's really what you can look at there, kind of being what life is like: political turmoil and violence, economic hardship, and also new social freedoms and vibrant artistic movements characterize this complex Weimar Republic or Weimar period. Okay, so again, a lot of people look at Germany and say, well, where Germany was in the early 1900s into World War One, was this kind of very strict and disciplined and work-oriented society. And then now we go in after this loss, and we have, again, a very free and liberal, or not really free, but a very liberal society. And people start to see that the morals and the ethics of the German people have declined sharply. Okay, so a lot of people are going to be very, disagreeing with that. And again, I mean, a lot of people in this world today draw similarities to the Weimar Republic to what's happening in our country now. Okay, I mean, if you pay attention to the news or politics even for like a second, you hear a lot of people that complain about things like this, that our morals are in the toilet and our country's on a downswing and our ethics are bad and people, crime in the streets and people get to just run wild and do whatever they want, and drugs and violence and all these crazy things that people criticize about our society. I guarantee you, those things that people say today would be almost exactly what people were saying in Germany about the Weimar Republic right at this time. So the reason why I bring this up and the reason why this is so important is that in this is where you see this voice comes from Adolf Hitler that says we must be a strong and united Germany again. We must stand up and not be under the shackles of this Treaty of Versailles and not under the shackles of this Weimar Republic that's leading us down the wrong path. Okay, so of course, when it comes to the Weimar Republic as well, Weimar Republic was blamed for accepting the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, and that's going to be a real big part of this. Okay, because of course, you better believe the Germans are going to be reminded about that Treaty of Versailles, reminded that you are the losers, reminded that you have to pay us back, reminded that you are the bad guys of the world, and then people like Hitler and these voices are going to come out and say, well, these are the people that accepted these terms. We didn't have to say that we were guilty for this war. Remember, World War I was an armistice. It was not conquered. It was not the German army was conquered. It was a ceasefire. But yet then Germany takes blame for the war. So then, of course, their lives in Germany go bad. And again, scapegoats. We talked about it before. Well, now people like Adolf Hitler can point at the Weimar Republic and say, that is the scapegoat. That is the reason why things are going bad for us. Is these guys in the Weimar Republic, and we need to get them out. Okay, so very quickly, what happens? And of course, we've talked about this. We've kind of already mentioned this guy and talked about. Well, we've mentioned these before, but of course, even in this time, yes, things were bad. Okay, of course, we saw this. We saw this image already when we talked about the decline in the economy there in Germany, where their money was just worth absolutely nothing. I mean, those are German marks. There's probably a few hundred or maybe a couple $1,000 or 1,000 German marks, but they're literally worthless. It's just trash in the streets. And of course, we saw the picture of the kids playing with the building blocks. We've seen that video, that image before. Well, also in the society, okay, what we start to see is that another scapegoat starts to emerge. Again, everybody else is to blame except for who maybe probably really is the one to blame. Okay, and so what happens is, of course, you've got the whole world blaming Germany for their problems, and then in Germany you've got people blaming the Weimar Republic for their problems. And then there starts to come another voice of people that they start blaming for their problems. And again, all of this is kind of unheard of. And unfortunately, this group of people have been blamed for a lot of problems throughout history that it's not really their fault. They've kind of become the scapegoats. And what you see here are Jewish men that live in, they're Hasidic Jewish men that lived in Germany at the time. Well, the Germans start to blame the Jews. They start saying the Jewish people are the ones that are to blame. Now, when we look at the money system, the marks, their economy that's gone to the toilet, well, a lot of Jewish people, even today, I mean, back then it was the same, and it's been this way all throughout time, but there are a lot of Jewish people that are involved in banking, in financing, and the money system. Well, now our money system is worth nothing. Well, it's the Jewish people that's their fault. It's their fault because they're the ones that handle our money, which, again, this is all a lie. I mean, please make no mistake. This is not their fault, but it's who they're going to blame. Who they're going to say is the issue, is that that they were the ones that were kind of in charge of our monetary system, and now our monetary system is in the toilet. So the Jewish people get blamed. And of course, this builds, okay? Understand, Adolf Hitler did not invent this concept known as anti-Semitism, which means kind of against Jewish people. He did not invent the concept of anti-Semitism. He just stoked the flames of it and made it bigger, okay? There was already kind of this bias against Jewish people throughout Germany and throughout Europe and in a lot of places in our world. He just stokes that and makes it even bigger, okay? So, of course, we'll expand more on the Jewish people in Germany in just a little bit. But again, understand, they are going to be treated as the scapegoats, okay? They are going to be the ones that are to blame for their problems, along with that Weimar Republic. So, of course, you've got this guy that comes along. And again, we watched him in the video series. We watched about his rise. We watched about how when he was younger, he is going to actually attempt an overthrow of the government. He sees what Mussolini did in Italy. And he basically gets guys together in this thing is called the Beer Hall Push, where he gets a bunch of his followers together, and they basically try to storm the government, okay? Like Mussolini did. Remember, we talked about yesterday with the black shirts. Mussolini walked straight in to the government building, and of course, the king was forced to kind of make Mussolini the head of the government. Hitler tries the same thing, but the Weimar Republic, the government buildings there are protected. So, of course, Hitler gets arrested for treason, for trying to rise up against the government. Now, like it said in the video, and I want to, again, expand on this, when Hitler was in prison, he writes his memoirs. Basically, he writes what's called a manifesto, which is his intention, his mission statement for the future. Now, this manifesto is going to be called Mein Kampf. Okay? Mein Kampf means my struggle. Okay, that's German for my struggle. Now, in this book, okay, Adolf Hitler literally lays out exactly what he's going to do. In fact, when this war breaks out, if the leaders of the other side open this book up and read it, it's literally a playbook for what he was intending on doing, okay? So first of all, of course, he blames Jewish people for the problems of Germany. He blames the Weimar Republic and the Treaty of Versailles for the problems of Germany. He says that the weakness of the Weimar Republic and the decay of their society is going to require a strong leader to rise up to the ranks and take over, which he's going to do. Now, on top of that, he says when this war breaks out, he is going to take over all the other former German lands, okay? And here's this, and get this. He says that they do not want to be the fascists from Italy, even though they did use fascist tactics, and they do not want to be the communists of Russia, because and in fact, he is going to bash the communists in Mein Kampf. He's going to say that they are idiots. He's going to say that they are like one level above being animals. Okay. In fact, he believed that the communists in Russia were so stupid, and of course, like we talked about yesterday, they're being killed by Joseph Stalin, kind of in wholesale. He believed that if he got a strong German army and rolled them into the Soviet Union, that the Russian people would literally throw their guns down and join him. Because again, remember how harsh Stalin was being to his people yesterday. We talked about how bad he was. Killed, 1.2 million, over 6 million, over 23 million of his own people that he will murder, like flat out kill, execute. Hitler says if we roll into the USSR, those people will be willing to join our side. Okay, so he literally says that. Now remember, he says he's going to invade Soviet Union. His intentions are to do that. He says once he does that and has this combined force of the Red Army, he will then sweep out to the west, take France, take England, and then go across the Atlantic Ocean and take the United States. So he literally writes that out in this book. Okay, now after he serves his time and he gets out, he becomes this martyr. He becomes this big cultural figure. Okay, and what happens is that very quickly Adolf Hitler is going to rise through the ranks of the government, okay? And again, a lot of people, he has a very similar, I'm not going to say they're the same people, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they're the same similar kinds of people, but Hitler's rise is going to be almost the exact same rise of Napoleon Bonaparte and almost the same rise as Julius Caesar that we talked about, where the government realizes that this guy is like a force to be reckoned with. And either we need to give him a part of government or let him in, or he's going to forcibly take us over, like Napoleon, like they did with Caesar. So when Hitler gets into government, Okay, what he's going to become this kind of minister within government. Well, all of a sudden they hold an election, and all these members of his Nazi party, National Socialist Party is what the Nazi party stands for, they will all run. And of course, all these members of the Nazi party get elected into leadership positions within the government. And when this happens, he takes firm control of their government. Now, of course, with Hitler, they used what were called the brown shirts rather than the black shirts that we saw in Italy. And these brown shirts, these guys were like flat out devoted to Hitler and his causes. Okay, so much like the black shirts were. These guys became his private police. These guys became his thugs to go do whatever he needed them to do. Now, when Hitler takes over, okay, and again, this is going to be, and we saw this in the video the other day, Adolf Hitler is going to, again, kind of, he's not the guy in charge of everything, but he's going to assume this major leadership role within government. And he is going to hatch a plot with his brown shirts. And in one night in particular, it's going to be referred to as the Night of the Long Knives. Okay? And in the Night of the Long Knives, what Adolf Hitler is going to do, he's going to be basically give this speech. And in the middle of his speech, he is going to launch a coordinated attack throughout all of Germany to take out all of his political rivals. Now, yesterday, we talked about the Great Purge with Joseph Stalin, where he took out his political rivals. Hitler is going to do exactly what Stalin did. Okay, so you see here, and it was now Stalin did it over the course of a couple of years. Hitler is going to do it in one night during his speech. And so it says this, on this night, Hitler killed over 100 of his political rivals. This allowed him to take full control over Germany. So again, imagine like us having an election in our country. And one night, while one of the candidates is giving a speech, every member of the other party gets executed and killed. Well, now who are you going to vote for? I mean, basically, this gives him the power. And of course, like it said in the video, I mean, he's going to try and justify this to the people that these are weak candidates. These people are going to make us weak. And they're plotting against Germany. And because and of course, he's going to lie about this and say, I have found plots with all of these people against Germany. And so it's my duty to execute anyone that's committing treason. Anyone that's a traitor must be killed. They must pay for it with their lives. And so that's why he justifies the killing of all these people. Okay, these 100 political rivals plus others. I mean, you can see on the newspaper ad there, it says 500 are killed in Germany. Of course, 100 of them were other politicians, and then of course the other 400 were just other people that were involved with them or on their side. Okay, so now when he does this, okay, here's the thing. And again, this is something that Hitler is going to see. Obviously, he's not going to say, he's going to admit that he's involved with this. I mean, he's going to say during his speech that he's sending out his men to go kill all these people. Okay? Well, when it's all over, nothing happens to him. The Weimar Republic can't come do anything to him. Nobody is going to, arrest him or come up against him. He is so much of a force in Germany at this time that nobody can challenge him. And guess what? Adolf Hitler comes in and starts preaching and starts kind of giving these speeches. And the thing about Hitler, you understand, is he is a really fiery speaker. He is going to command a room. He's going to have a lot of charisma. He's going to get in and he's going to yell and scream and be excited and be enthusiastic. And the people of Germany are kind of liking this because guess what? Forever, Germany, it's your fault for the depression. It's your fault for the war. It's your fault. It's your fault. You're bad. You're the bad guy. And all of a sudden, Hitler comes out and goes, "No, it's everybody else that's the bad guy, not us." So people start gravitating to this hatred of other groups and hatred of outside people. Okay, and again, he's going to get a massive following. Okay, so very quickly, what we're going to see is that Hitler's brown shirts are going to become what you see right here. Now, this is actually a screen grab from the movie Schindler's List. But again, this is a pretty accurate depiction of what these guys look like. I mean, you might recognize that guy right there. That's Ralph Fiennes, the dude that played Voldemort in all the Harry Potter movies. Anyway, that's an actual actor right there. But anyway, but what these guys depict right here is this kind of upper echelon of Adolf Hitler's followers that became known as the SS. Okay, and again, this becomes his private police force. Those brown shirts become the SS. And these SS officers, they are going to be like fanatical followers of Hitler. They will do whatever he wants them to do. I mean, if he tells them to go jump off a cliff, they'll go do it, okay? And so very quickly, the streets in a lot of places in Germany, especially in Munich, in the capital of Germany, you'll see these just roving bands of these SS officers just going around and picking fights, going around and listening to anybody that kind of speaks out against them, and they take them out, okay? I mean, they're very brutal. And you can see, of course, they're all armed. They all have weapons. They got these dogs. I mean, if you went against them, it wasn't a fact of you getting, and yeah, you might get beat up, but more than likely, you're probably going to get a bullet in your head too. Okay. So again, this fear tactic, this scare tactic, this bullying tactics, like we saw in fascism down in Italy, is going to be happening here in Germany. Now, unfortunately, like we had alluded to before, okay, the scapegoats come out. Well, with these SS kind of running through the streets, okay, one night they're going to have, and well, of course, this is an actual photo from back at this time. The one before was from the movie Schindler's List. This is an actual photo, and this is a great characterization of what it was like to be in Germany at this time. Okay, I mean, I really want you to look at this. I mean, hey, think about this. Look at the man. Of course, this is a Jewish man. He is a Hasidic Jewish man, and in the Jewish religion, a lot of these men, they grow their beards out, and they have what are called payas. Okay, payas are kind of like these curls that come out of their sideburns that they grow real long. It's a part of their religion. Well, if you look here, you've got this guy. He's shorter than all these guys. He's completely outnumbered, and he's obviously being bullied by these guys. And these officers, they're cutting his payas off, which is very, very extremely disrespectful. But look at it. I mean, look at the helplessness in his face. He's like, what am I supposed to do? I have to just sit here and take it. I have to just sit here and get bullied by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 grown men that are bigger than me. What am I going to do? Run? If I run, they're going to kill me. What, am I going to fight back? They're going to beat me within an inch of my life or kill me. Okay? This becomes kind of the face and the personification of the Jewish people of Germany at this time. Bullied by these people, ganged up by these people. And again, it's not their fault. They weren't the ones that did this. Nobody was. I mean, it was just kind of dumb luck, really, that they get blamed for this stuff. Now, this treatment for the Jews is going to be tested in a night called Kristallnacht. Okay? Now, Kristallnacht is going to stand for the Night of Broken Glass. Okay? And what that is going to be one night in particular. All right? Hitler's followers are going to go out into Germany, go out into Munich, and go out in all these major cities, and they are going to destroy Jewish businesses. So the Night of Broken Glass, or Kristallnacht, means like breaking out storefront windows, dragging Jewish people in the street and either killing them or beating them within an inch of their life, going into homes and stealing things, and basically evicting them from their homes, burning their houses down. I mean, you can see here, the burning of these. Now, what's going to happen is during Kristallnacht, and you can kind of see right here, there will be several buildings that will be lit on fire. You better believe Adolf Hitler is going to blame this arson on the Jewish people. They are the ones that have attacked the government buildings and burnt these buildings down. So that's why we're going to go out and kind of take it to these people. Now, the big thing on this, and I want you to understand, again, it says there, of course, they attacked Jewish people, Jewish businesses. The authorities looked the other way and set a precedent for the treatment of German Jewish people. After Kristallnacht, it became extremely apparent that nobody was going to stand up for the Jewish people. That you could beat them up, you could destroy their businesses, you could steal from them, you could do it, you could kill them, and nothing is going to happen to you. Okay, so again, this is kind of like not like the last straw, but this makes it very apparent that nothing will happen if you treat these people badly. Okay, so again, this is a kind of a crazy time. So again, that's that second part of that second question for right there about Kristallnacht. Okay. Okay, so I'll give you all just like about another few seconds to write that down, and then we're gonna move forward. Okay, now after Kristallnacht, the Jewish people again are going to be kind of treated. Obviously, they're going to start treating the Jewish people like they are prisoners of war. Okay, like they are no longer citizens of Germany. So what's going to happen is that many of the rights of the Jewish people are going to be taken away. The very first things they're going to do is they're going to take away their guns. They're going to take away their right to own weapons. They're going to take away their right to have certain positions or certain jobs. They are going to restrict their movements around the town. Jewish people will be also required to wear what you see right here, this armband with the Star of David on it. Because wherever you go, that Star of David is like a permission to treat you poorly. I mean, it wouldn't be uncommon you walk around with the Star of David and somebody just walk up and come and punch you in the stomach, or somebody trip you and knock you down, or walk up and just like steal your money or whatever from you. Now, you might say, well, why wouldn't you just not wear it? Well, trust me, people knew who the Jewish people were. If you did not have that Star of David on you, generally it would mean your life. They would kill you, or you'd be put in some prison somewhere and you'd probably die there as well. Okay, so I mean, again, things are getting worse and worse and worse for the Jewish people there in Germany. And understand, this was not just something reserved for adults. Even the children had to wear the Star of David. Even the Jewish children were treated poorly, were treated differently than their adults. And of course, you see these two little boys here with the little stars on their coats. Okay, and again, we'll get more into the treatment of the Jewish people. We'll talk about the Holocaust specifically towards the end of the war, but just know this is all the precursor to this. Now, going along with this treatment and the restriction of rights for the Jewish people, we will see that in a lot of places in Germany, they will start restricting the Jewish people to these walled-in sections of the city that they call ghettos. Okay, and in these ghettos, now of course in these ghettos, and you can see, of course, that it's very unsanitary. You can kind of see the wall extending through here, run down parts of the building, or run down buildings, all that stuff. But they walled in a section and they said, this is where you can live. You might say, well, I have a house in the country. Not anymore. That's our house. You now live in the ghettos. Now, these ghettos were very overcrowded. And again, this is like the old school tenement blocks that we talked about from the Industrial Revolution. Okay, overcrowded apartments, the whole thing. Well, the Jewish people here, they were put on strict curfews. So what they would do is they would open the ghettos, open the gates of the ghettos, and they would let the people come out between, like, let's just call it like 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. And after 7 o'clock at night, if you were found outside the gates, you were either going to be beaten within an inch of your life or you were going to be killed. Okay, that's how hardcore this was. Again, they treated these people like they were prisoners, like they were occupied, like an occupied group of people. The Jewish people were. Now, again, life in these ghettos is going to be bad. Okay, again, unsanitary. A lot of people get sick and die. There's not a lot of food. There's not a lot of water. Not a lot of medical care, and it gets pretty rough. And you can kind of see this wall here for that ghetto where they were living inside there. But what's going to happen is that this restricting of rights and moving into these ghettos in these cities is just like the first step. The next step, which we'll get into a lot more, probably, more than likely we'll get a lot more into it next week. The next step is they start moving these people out. They start relocating them out of the cities. And what they tell these people is that, okay, we have a camp for you to live in out in the countryside. We don't want you in the cities anymore. You don't want to be in these cramped ghettos, walled-in prisons. We have a camp that you can go live in. And we're going to get you together. We're going to load you up on these trains. Bring your stuff with you, and you and your family will be reunited out in the country, and you'll stay in these camps until all this crisis is over. Okay? Of course, that is the lie that they fed the Jewish people that kicked off the Holocaust. But again, we'll talk about that later. We will talk about the Holocaust at the end of the European campaign because, again, I remember when I was in college, I actually took a World War II history class, like the coolest class I ever took in my life. But they literally taught the Holocaust on the last day of class because they go, we want this to kind of be an impression on you. So that's kind of how I like to do it too. We will talk about the Holocaust specifically at the end of the European campaign, so we can kind of explore that at that time. Okay. All right. Other than that, that is what we got for today. Good job today. Make sure we get our questions answered. Make sure we get our summary at the bottom, and you got the rest of the class to yourself.